Good morning, my name is Valerie Reyes. I'm a special education teacher here at Palmview Elementary. Today we'll be discussing home and school connections for English language learners. I would first like to start off with a quote by Ludwig Wittgenstein that says, "The limits of my language are the limits of my world." For English language learners, limits are exalted through culturally responsive teaching, supporting EL's needs in the classrooms, leveraging English learner assets, and building home and school connections. Historically, ELLs have been misidentified, underserved, and met with a deficit-focused perspective rather than asset-based. However, there are strategies and supports that can help remind all students of the richness that their cultural and linguistic backgrounds bring to the learning environment. When we're discussing culturally responsive teaching, this involves reflecting on cultural influences as well as our own cultural competence. Cultural influences on teaching and learning may include students' rules for communicating with adults, whether through facial expressions or body language, or other influences such as their norms, their values, family structure, traditions, and customs. An example of this would be how in one student's culture, it may seem disrespectful to make eye contact with an adult when they are speaking. However, in our culture, that is how we demonstrate a sign of respect. And cultural competence is where we focus on the ability to successfully teach students who come from cultures that are different than our own. And this entails making sure that our instruction is inclusive and it is culturally responsive to their values and beliefs. We must also make sure that these values and beliefs are integrated appropriately in the context of teaching and learning so that students may feel seen as well as sense that their norms are also relatable to the topics of discussion. The role of culture in student learning has an intrinsic value to engagement and interest to instruction. School and classroom environments can influence language acquisition by allowing students to share about their traditions in whole group discussion, or creating a welcoming and supportive environment to their efforts. We must model awareness, compassion, and respect. These are crucial aspects to creating an inclusive environment. Some strategies for supporting and celebrating cultural diversity within instruction are including destination from students' cultures, or making sure that we have, multi-ethnic visuals when it be lessons or stories, or including a cultural mediated curriculum where students may also feel relatable or seen or, part of the story as well. Some strategies for leveraging home language and cultural assets include having students share their experiences of traditions or, relationships within their family groups, or using root words from similar home languages to decode vocabulary words. To support the needs of ELs in the classroom, some strategies include making sure that they can see himself or herself in the curriculum material, as well as having their parents serve as advisors for student events, school events, or school initiatives. Opportunities and approaches to meet the social and emotional needs of ELs are also important, and they may require additional supports, such as in the context of emotional regulation techniques, the multi-ethnic visuals of a diverse group of students, blowing finger candles or counting to 5. As well as, utilizing that same theme for emotion words or emotion cards to help students name either anxiety or confusion. And it will also help them create a connection between emotion and language. The importance of understanding the social, emotional, and cultural needs of students when establishing classroom routines and procedures is to provide them with options and ability to voice out their needs, whether it be a multi-ethnic break card, breathing visuals, or zones of emotional regulation charts. Students will be able to identify their emotions or desires and understand how to obtain them or acquire what they need. For home and school connections, this involves family and community practices to influence language learning. These family and community members provide insights about their values, attitudes, and habits of their students, and they may also allow us that opportunity to learn more about their culture. Family and community practices serve as strong assets for creating an inclusive classroom environment, as well as creating the diverse culture of the classroom. Some strategies to build stronger family, community, and school partnerships are conducting observations, sending home parent questionnaires, interviewing with students, investigating preferred methods of communications as well as the preferred times, even scheduling a home visit with families to learn more about their culture, and encouraging parents to be part of school events and part of the school community. Effective family engagement practices that support and highlight the assets of home languages involve discussing the value of bilingualism with parents. We would like to advocate that we want students to grow in both languages, that these will be influential and huge assets to their language acquisition, as well as, the job opportunities later on in life. We want to express to parents that knowing 2 different languages is not a hindrance of any kind, but it's a strength, it's a superpower. And we would also like communities to have these families feel involved. We want to reassure families that their cultures, beliefs, and engagement bring value to the school environment as well. Parents should be made to feel as invaluable assets to their child's learning, and as a result, this partnership can help make students more successful. Educators should be communicating frequently with parents, and this shares the overall message that we are all partners that are invested in their child's success. Inclusive community engagement practices are creating invitations that are in families' native languages, requesting that districts provide translators at these meetings and events, and extending their input for school events in a way that celebrates and includes their cultures. When we're discussing their holidays or their customs, maybe that might be included in a school fair event, or even as educators, if we know that they celebrate a certain holiday that we don't, we might abstain from scheduling an important assignment or a big project around these dates to make sure that their students don't fall behind. As educators, we have a very powerful opportunity to close inequity gaps by presenting those asset-based behaviors and expectations, and reminding students and families that multilingualism is an advantage and it is not a deficit. And we want to work together to make sure that the students are the most successful. Thank you.